much, Jim. We've all had a copy of Chapter 2 of the K&J
Jim
report.
Tucci there.
Jim's going to walk us through that, and we'll have questions and discussions on it.
First, I'd like to thank the task force for giving me the opportunity to present the findings of our Phase 2 report. Additionally, I wanted to take just a moment and also summarize the results of our Phase 1 report, which I know you have in possession. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Jim Tucci. I'm the President and Chief Engineer of K&J Safety and Security Consulting Services. By education, I'm a professional engineer licensed, certified safety professional, director with the World Safety Organization, and a member of the National Safety Council for 17 years. My transit experience covers about 25 years in transit. I worked with about 100 transit agencies throughout the United States, as well as overseas. I've worked in the Orient, I've worked in Europe, and so it gives me a little bit of a capacity to be able to compare the state of affairs of Transit Agency A to Transit Agency B, which is some of the process that we used in going through the Phase 1 and Phase 2 evaluations that we conducted here. Additionally, my current activities, besides generating the Phase 1 and Phase 2 report, is I'm leading the recovery effort for the Washington, D.C. Metro post-April 2009 incident at Fort Todd. That event obviously changed the rail transit industry forever, and the transit agency is going through some serious changes, and we're trying to help them, lead them out of that very dark time. If I could, I'd like to take just a moment and summarize the Phase 1 report. And again, I know I've mentioned this, but I know you've had it in your possession, and I just wanted to take a moment to sort of summarize the key points in the Phase 1 report, because the Phase 1 report was really the foundation that established our work effort in the Phase 2 efforts. What we found from our Phase 1 evaluation really focused who we wanted to interview, those individuals that we needed to talk to, those programs that were most important for us to assess and evaluate and try to provide you, the task force, with some recommendations to be able to move forward into the future. We tried to keep those recommendations to be clear, concise, attainable, but yet far-reaching, to establish a precedent within TriMet to be a leader in where you're going with your safety program. So in summary, for the Phase 1 report, we started our work efforts back in May. Our task was to deliver a Phase 1 documented report by early to mid-June of this year. We attained that goal. The areas that we evaluated included rail operations rulebook, rail SOPs, the rail operations training and certification process. We also looked at the bus side of the house, which would be bus operator SOPs, bus operator training, bus stops guidelines manual. Again, I just want to mention it's very unique within the country that such a document exists here at TriMet. TriMet System Safety Program Plan, which is a multimodal plan both covering bus and rail, another unique aspect for the TriMet organization. We also provided some industry best practices. Those best practices were gleaned from some 23 other transit agencies, not necessarily mirroring TriMet's operation, but as best as we possibly could, trying to prevent you as many options to take your agency forward in relationship to issues like left-hand turns and what these other agencies were doing in relationship to left-hand turn hazards and the safety programs that they could put in place to address those. So that was a pretty difficult endeavor to try to collect that information, but we did. We summarized it and provided it to you in your Task 1 report. Additionally, we evaluated at great length the TriMet Transit Change Review Committee, the TCRC process for urgent reviews. We sat through a number of reviews, independently assessed those reviews, and then provided a task report on those reviews also. Again, the TCRC process is unlike anything else I've ever experienced at other transit agencies. It's very thorough, very well vetted. It's extremely mature process, and it's not one that's utilized at any other transit agency that I've been a part of or I've worked with. With that, if I could, I'd like to move into the summarizing of the Phase 2 report. In our Phase 2 report, we found a number of findings. Findings can be both positive issues and issues that need corrective actions. We tried to identify those findings that were benchmarks, hallmarks, precedent-setting events, or activities that are worthy of identification and holding up to light to other transit agencies throughout the industry. On the rail side of the house, you've got an extremely mature, well-vetted training program. On the bus side of the house, you also have a very strong training program. But we did make some recommendations because there's always improvements that can be made. My experience is if a transit agency loses its safety initiative, it loses the effort to get better. So safety is a constant process requiring the activities of this task force, of executive management at TriMet, to continue to assess the process and continue to look at it, continue to try to move the process forward. I believe the Phase 1 and the Phase 2 activities are steps in that direction, a continuous step of improvement. Most agencies are not willing to cast a light on their operations like you've done here. It's an extremely difficult process, it's very painful, and it's commendable that this task force exists and you're willing to really evaluate the operations at TriMet. So with that, after our Task 1 report, we were then contacted by TriMet to conduct our Task 2 efforts, which included delivering a final report, which was presented to TriMet last week. That activity took roughly 6 weeks of work. It included an on-site assessment and then a follow-up assessment that was conducted by myself last week. Both myself and my Vice President for System Safety assisted in our initial on-site assessment, which was conducted between the 6th and the 9th of July. And then I came back for follow-up discussions through activities on-site here last week. That helped me close a number of open issues that there were some concerns about. The areas that we assessed in the Phase 2 report, as you'll see in front of you, included the bus operations. In the bus operations assessment, we looked at training. We audited several accident review sessions. We interviewed a number of staff, which are identified in the report. We performed field inspections in relationship to bus stop locations and hazard analysis performed on some 81 of your current routes and stops. And then we reviewed the procedures and proceedings for the Transit Change Review Committee and sat through a number of those meetings to assess that process also. There was one major finding that came out of the bus operations review, and that finding is in the area of the way we pass SOPs on to our staff and move that information from the bus operator SOP to the staff process. And there needs to be a little bit better configuration control we suggested in that process. And I believe the committee's already aware of that, and I believe those findings are in the process of being evaluated for implementation. Additionally, we evaluated the bus procurement section, and this was very unique because TriMet, again, has done a number of very innovative procurement aspects in relationship to bus procurement. You've used very innovative lighting schemes, rear-mounted cameras, mirror-based turn signals, all of which are benchmarks and currently not in place at most transit agencies throughout the United States. The illuminations, the side panel illuminations for turns and doorwell entrance areas are again, just a great innovation and part and parcel of the process of continuing to move forward, continuous improvement, and taking advantage of a lot of the safety initiatives that are available through your bus suppliers and bus vendors. And TriMet, through your 2900 series bus procurement with New Flyer, has done a very commendable job in bringing those safety enhancements, to the agency.